Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are taking a really fascinating look at something many of us have, but maybe don't think enough about until there's a problem. Your deck. It's more than just looks, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a major part of your home, especially for outdoor living. And, our sources today really hammer home that in places with tough weather, think Vancouver, that mix of rain, humidity, temperature shifts well. Keeping that deck safe and usable takes real effort.
Right. It's not just set and forget. So our mission today is pretty clear. We want to help you figure out, when is it just a repair? When are you looking at a full replacement? What are those critical danger signs?
And importantly, how picking the right materials for your climate and getting the right local know-how really protects that investment. It's about making informed choices.
Exactly. So let's dive right in. The first big question, DIY. It seems tempting, maybe save some money. But why do the experts and our sources consistently push towards getting professionals involved for deck work?
Well, it really boils down to safety and what you can't see. A homeowner might spot, say, a rotten board or a wobbly railing. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, the obvious stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But a professional, they're trained to find those hidden structural issues. We're talking about things like, is the ledger board, that's where the deck attaches to your house, is it properly flashed and secured? Is it pulling away?
Okay. Things that could lead to a much bigger problem. Catastrophic, even.
Potentially, yes. Or issues with the footings, the foundation of the deck, water damage getting into the house structure itself because the flashing failed. These are things a quick DIY fix usually misses entirely. You're not just paying for labor, you're paying for that structural assessment and ensuring it meets code.
Which brings us to codes. You mentioned local knowledge being key, especially somewhere like BC. Why is that specific local expertise so valuable?
Because building codes aren't one size fits all. In a place like the Lower Mainland, the codes are really dialed into dealing with constant moisture. So think specific requirements for flashing, for drainage, for the types of fasteners used, even seismic considerations.
Things you wouldn't necessarily know if you just looked up general instructions online?
Precisely. Local contractors know the materials that actually perform long-term in that specific wet variable climate. They know the suppliers. It's about avoiding materials that might look okay initially, but just won't hold up to the local weather, leading to costly repairs down the road. That local insight really does pay dividends.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So let's equip our listeners. What are the specific red flags, the visual cues that say, okay, this deck needs more than just a cleaning brun. I need a professional eye on this.
Right. Well, the obvious ones first. Loose boards, cracked wood, railings that feel shaky. You push on it, it gives way too much.
Basic stuff.
Basic stuff. But then dig deeper. Look for pooling water. After it rains, does water just sit on the deck for hours? That's a huge warning sign. It means the slope is probably wrong or something's blocked.
And that water's just soaking in, right? What's it doing?
It's creating the perfect breeding ground for rot and fungus. It's breaking down the wood fibers from the inside out. That's why you need to check for soft, spongy spots. Poke suspect areas gently with a screwdriver, maybe, if it feels soft, mushy.
That's not just surface wear.
No, that's decay. It means the wood's internal structure is failing. And that rot can spread, to the joists, the beams, the critical support structure. And one more thing. Don't ignore a failing finish. Peeling paint or stain might seem cosmetic.
But it means the protection is gone.
Exactly. The finish is the first line of defense against moisture and UV damage. If it's failing, the wood underneath is exposed and vulnerable to that whole wet-dry cycle that destroys it.
Okay, really useful specifics there. Connecting the symptom, like spongy wood, to the cause, the decay. So once you see these signs, you face that big question, can I get away with a repair, or am I looking at a total rebuild? How does a pro make that call?
The deciding factor is almost always the substructure. The posts, the beams, the ledger board connection. If that core structure is sound, the problems are mainly surface-level deck boards, railings, maybe the very ends of some joists, then yeah, a targeted repair is often the way to go.
Cost-effective, gets more years out of it.
Definitely. But if there's significant rot in those main structural components, if the posts are unstable, if the ledger board is compromised, or if the footings are failing,
then patching it up is just putting a Band-Aid on a bigger issue.
Pretty much. In those cases, or if the whole structure is old and doesn't meet current safety codes, especially seismic codes in relevant areas, then replacement is usually necessary. It's about long-term safety. Plus, replacement gives you that chance to redesign, maybe use better materials, and really add value.
And that's where the professional evaluation is key, right? Because they see things the average homeowner just wouldn't.
Absolutely. They can assess the extent of the hidden damage and give you a realistic recommendation based on safety and longevity, not just patching symptoms.
Which leads us perfectly into materials. If you are doing a major repair or a rebuild, choosing the right stuff, especially for these challenging climates, seems critical. How do you balance that classic look versus modern function?
Yeah, it's a big decision. Longevity is really the name of the game. You've got your traditional choices, natural wood like cedar or pressure-treated pine. It looks great, that classic warm feel.
But requires upkeep.
Exactly. It needs regular sealing, staining, maintenance to fight off moisture and rot. It's a commitment.
Okay, so what's on the other side? The lower maintenance options.
That's where composites and vinyl come in strong. Composite decking, it's usually a mix of wood fibers, and recycled plastic is really durable. Resists rot, fading, splintering pretty well, less work.
And vinyl. You mentioned that's particularly good for wet areas.
Yeah, vinyl or PVC decking is basically plastic. It's almost completely non-porous. So for places with constant rain, heavy humidity, it's incredibly resistant to moisture, mold, mildew. It really performs well in those conditions with very little maintenance.
Now, something interesting our sources mentioned was the rise of eco-friendly options. Is sustainability just a buzzword here, or does it actually tie into durability?
That's a great point. And no, it's not just buzz. Often, sustainability and durability go hand in hand now. Think about thermally modified wood, for example.
How does that work?
They use a high heat treatment process, basically cooking the wood. It changes the wood's cell structure, makes it much less able to absorb water, and way more resistant to rot and insects. And it's done without chemicals.
So the eco-friendly process actually makes it tougher.
In many cases, yes. Longer lifespan means less replacement, less waste. That's sustainable. It also includes things like using sustainably harvested wood, recycled materials and composites, and installation methods that minimize waste. So choosing sustainable often means choosing something designed to last longer with less fuss.
Makes sense. Before we get to cost, what about railings? They're not just decorative.
Not at all. Critical for safety. In design, sure. Metal railings, aluminum is really popular, are a great choice. They're strong, very low maintenance, and they look good with pretty much any decking material, wood or composite or vinyl.
And the focus is always on
Safety first. Any good repair or build is going to prioritize safety upgrades. That means really strong framing, making sure railings are securely anchored to meet code, using non-slip surfaces where needed. It's all about a solid, safe structure.
Okay, let's talk numbers. Getting professionals involved costs more upfront than DIY, obviously. But the argument is it saves money long term. What drives that professional cost estimate? What should you expect?
Right, it's an investment. 4 main things usually shape the cost. First, just the sheer scope. How big is the deck? And crucially, how bad is the existing damage? Fixing a seriously compromised ledger board takes more skill and time than just replacing surface boards.
Okay, size and damage level. What else?
Second, your material choice. As we said, composites and vinyl generally cost more upfront than basic pressure-treated wood. But you factor in the lower maintenance and longer lifespan.
The total cost of ownership.
Exactly. Third is the skilled labor itself. You're paying for the expertise to install it correctly, meet those complex local codes, and ensure it's built to last. And fourth, kind of related, is the influence of the local climate and codes on the required materials and methods.
Can you give an example?
Sure. In a place like Vancouver, code might require specific types of footings to handle moisture and frost heave, or beefier framing for snow loads, or specific connectors for seismic reasons. Those requirements, driven by the local environment, naturally add to the baseline cost compared to, say, a dry, stable climate.
So those local demands are unavoidable cost factors if you want it done right and safely. Meaning a super low quote might be cutting corners on materials or code compliance.
That would definitely be a red flag, yes.
Yeah.
A reputable contractor isn't just providing labor, they're providing the engineering sense to choose durable, code-compliant solutions that give you the best long-term value and safety. Think lower insurance risk, better resale value down the line.
Okay, let's try and pull this together for everyone listening. The key takeaway seems to be finding a trusted local contractor is crucial. You're essentially buying their knowledge of local conditions, a guarantee of safety, especially around railings, and the structure itself, and guidance on choosing the right materials that will actually last in your climate.
It really is about that long-term peace of mind, knowing it's built right and built safe.
Right.
Protecting your investment and your family.
Definitely. So building on that, Safety, longevity, maintenance, these themes came up again and again in our sources. We know regular checks are vital to catch problems early and save money. This leads me to a final thought for you to consider. If that regular professional upkeep is so important, what's the best time of year to schedule it? Is it better to do a post-winter inspection to assess any damage? Or maybe pre-winter prep to protect it before the harsh weather hits? What timing gives you the maximum benefit for your specific deck's lifespan and safety?
That's a really practical point to consider. When is the optimal intervention point in that annual cycle? Something definitely worth thinking about for your own situation.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.